Hi, I'm Joseph. I'm from Escondido, California, and this is my story. So my dad, he grew up in Lebanon, and then he actually fled to Boston, to the U.S. because of the Christian-Muslim civil wars. So that happened when he was 12. And then my mom grew up in Canada. She grew up on a farm. She's like, oh, I was a cowgirl before it was cool, like all that. And so she did traveling occupational therapy. And then eventually, so she was all around in the US, and then eventually my mom and dad met in California. So my mom, she grew up kind of atheist, and then she was explaining to me like, oh, I kind of realized I was fleeing like because her mom passed when she was young, so she was like, I was kind of like, in order to deal with that, I'll just like flee the country and move. And so my dad fled because it wasn't safe, and then they fell in love in California, and so that's how I'm here. But so that's my mom. She does occupational therapy. My dad, he's a yoga teacher, so he's more like spiritual than like religious, and so he's such a character. But he passed away like 6 years ago, so that was really hard. And then growing up, there was like, if you asked them like, oh, do you believe in God? I think they would say yes. But if it was like, do you believe in Jesus? That's where like, I don't know if you would get a mixed answer, if that makes sense. So I say all of that just to say like, kind of, because we grew up going to church like off and on. I was in a Christian school from kindergarten through 8th grade, but they didn't really pick it because it was Christian. They just picked it because it was like a private school. So they picked it more for the education instead of like the Christian background. But we ended up just going like to church every now and then. And it wasn't like God and Jesus was talked a lot about at home, but like we bounced between like church here and then. So it's like kind of, sort of. So growing up, I was raised in a Lutheran school. That was from kindergarten through 8th grade. So I grew up hearing about Jesus, but again, it was kind of like not as well talked about in my home. So it's more like at home we're just like nice people, and it's just my view. But at home we're just like trying to be good people. At school, it's like Christian education, all the things. But in high school, I bounced between a non-denominational church and the Lutheran church that I grew up in because I had connections in both. So I didn't want to lose the friendships at either church. So, and then it was in the summer of, I don't know, 8th grade, I don't know what year, where my dad passed. And so that's, I would say, was also like, it was really hard. And so it's like dealing with like a lot of like struggles and like everything, and like trying to find comfort and peace. So it's like dealing with a bunch of temptations, everything. But then also like I could see God like leveraging that and like trying to like draw me closer to him, if that makes sense. So it's like in that struggle of like losing a father, but also like seeking like community, it kind of like was a push-pull effect. So that's when I realized like, oh wow, yeah, like life is hard. Like life isn't all like easy and sunshines and rainbows. So I would say like kind of moving into high school, that's when my faith started to become my own. Because at that time I also got plugged into my church's youth group. And so I was a high school student as an intern in the youth group for the middle school youth group. And so that's, among other things, what I would say. So I came to Vanguard, I would say I heard about it growing up because there was a senior that went here a few years ago. She graduated, but she was in our youth group. So I heard of Vanguard. And so in high school, I mean, it's just like me trying to figure out me. And then senior year, I was like, okay, I don't know really what I want to do or like where I want to go. But then I was like, okay, I'll apply at Vanguard because like I know it's a Christian school, it's in California. But it was interesting because a lot of my family on the East Coast was like, oh, you should apply out here, like come to the East Coast. So I applied to East Coast schools, applied to like some random ones here. But I think just whatever you look for in like a school, whether it be like, I don't know, tuition or like the student body, the location, the majors offered, anything that you would look for. I think Vanguard just beat it all out. And then I got like really blessed with like scholarship and all the things. And so it's just like, okay, yeah, I'll apply here, I'll go here, and then ended up picking theology because I knew it was a Christian school, and so it's like, all right, God, if that's what you want, then let's do it. I'm for it. Um, like what I learned in the classroom, what I learned in like an experience in chapel, what I experienced from like other students, I think that's really been um, just like the catalyst for like my walk here at Vanguard. Because I think whenever I engage with like people that grew up differently than me or like had different worldviews and just like meeting more of the body of Christ, that like helps flourish and like build my walk with God, because it's seeing how other people experience God, and then in turn I can reflect and compare in a healthy way how that impacts my own faith. Yeah, I would say after Vanguard, I think ministry would be the goal. That'd be nice, but I don't want to like slap a label on anything too soon. I don't want to close any doors too soon either, but I'm definitely open to like just being a pastor, or like if that's like general pastoral care or just like youth ministry. I don't know yet, but I think ministry would be awesome if that's what the Lord wants. I'm also open to like being a missionary and just like going abroad and doing work out there, or being a professor, teacher. Yeah, I kind of don't have it like all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, but that's okay. Yeah. I would say to anyone watching, man, it's so cheesy, but like be yourself, because I think if you're not yourself, then you're not just doing yourself harm, but you're doing the rest of the body of Christ harm, if that makes sense. So I would definitely say like, man, don't be afraid to be yourself and like lean into what God has for you and like the gifts and the passions that He's given you. Don't let it go to waste. Yeah.